we finally got somewhere with this deck. I was already losing hope, but we got 4th place out of 16 players at a local tournament using Purrely. It's a cookie cutter deck list. I just copied it off the internet. I forgot where specifically, but it's almost every Purrely deck list looks the same. So here's what we ran. 3 copies of Purrely OG, then Purrely only 2 because it's a hard ones per turn. The MVP is Crystal Beast, Cobalt Eagle. Then for the hand traps, 2 copies of Dragon Lockbird and 2 copies of Haru. We don't really use Haru a lot in this meta. 2 copies of Dogwood because you keep paying life points for Purrely, my friend, and that can lead you to a disadvantage. So this gives you a lot of life points, especially during time restricted games. Then there's Yuki-Onna. A lot of people use cards on the field now that need to be on the field. Then Effect Wheeler, just 1. And of course, La Cucaracha. For the spells, every single quick play Purrely spell, they're all max 3. 2 of the field and 2 of Purrely, my friend, because you can just pull Purrely, my friend, using Purrely, and aside from that, we're running another card to pull our field. There's a reason why we have Cobalt Eagle, and that's because we're running Rainbow Bridge, which if you banish it from the graveyard, you search your deck for a field spell and a Crystal Beast. This guy, if it's on the field, you return it to your deck, so it doesn't become a Garnet. The other field spell that we have is Village of the Spellcasters. So we have Dragon Lockbird, we have Effect Veiler, and we have others that we'll be looking at from the extra deck. The rest of the deck, Dark Ruler No More, great for 2nd turn, Pure Leap, and Infinite Impermanence. Pure Leap is now easier to set because of the brand new Epuri Noir. It's also a compulsory evacuation device for up to 2 cards. Unfortunately, it's not a quick effect. Epuri Happiness, it is an OTK engine on itself. Epuri Beauty, it's Effect Veiler. 2 copies of Plump. This is what we use to turbo out Noir. X-Puri Happiness also goes into an OTK. And X-Puri Noir, the 10th pole of the entire deck. If you're using Pure Leap to summon any of the big Purleys, they return to the deck at the end turn of the next turn, so you just put a Zeus on top of it to make use of the resources. We run Iggy because it's a given, but I've noticed something that people would do is they would side in their dimensional barriers, and then they would call out Xyz, so that would shut down your entire extra deck. So my alternative is this. The reason why we run Village of the Spellcasters. Relinquish Anima is a spellcaster. The Charmers, Light and Dark, are spellcasters. We have Celine, and we have a lot of spells, spellcaster. Then from our deck, we have at least 3 spellcasters. Link Climb to access code Talker to shut their field out. Great comeback. If you can't hit them with the Noir, you hit them with access code. As for the side, you should also run Dimension Barrier because the Tier Element is still a thing in the OCG, weirdly enough. Mannadium uses Synchros, and then there's also other decks that use Xyz. That way you won't have a problem on your opponent's turn when they try to bring out Xyz. Shut down fusions, shut down synchros. The other Dark Ruler No More, Triple Tactic Talent and Triple Tactic Trust, Harpy's Feather Duster. then 2 copies of Denko Sekka because still part of the meta is Traptrix and Labyrinth. I am considering removing Santa Claus and replacing it with Gamma Shell because of its attack and defense power. Then 2 copies of Nibiru. Nibiru is a great card nowadays in today's meta because people now would summon more than 5 times, unlike what happened with the sprites and with what we call the tier limits. Even Kashitras, they need to at least summon 5. And if they just summon 4, you can just remove the cards using the basic stuff that you have on your deck. And then our second copy of Yuki Onna and our third copy of Haru Urara. What are the major challenges that this deck will ever face aside from the dimension barrier? One is many people, instead of like doing very specific sides against Noir, they won't allow you to summon Noir. All they need to do is hit your Purrely with a simple Effect Veiler or Infinite Impermanence or even Ash Blossom, and you're done. You can't do much if your first turn or second turn for that matter. Hell, they'll just hit this with a Ghost Ogre and that's it. Unless you have backups, such as these cards. This prevents your monster from being destroyed. Sorry, not your monster. A monster from being destroyed by battle. This prevents a card from being destroyed by effect. This is really helpful in protecting your cards on the field. So it's not just monsters, it's cards. Speaking of, we had an interaction against Hakai on Unchained, where they kept on destroying their own cards to summon bigger versions of their monsters from hand or graveyard or wherever. I target whatever they were trying to target, they couldn't destroy it, they couldn't summon it. Secret Village shuts down Runics because they don't normally use spellcasters, and it shut down Sky Strikers because they're mostly warriors. All in all, this deck is good so far. It's not surprising that it's a huge part of the meta game in the OCG, but it's slowly dwindling against Mathmech. But we'll wait and see. We'll see how it all works out, especially that there's new support. Until next time.